Hi there. This is Liam Kennedy, and I'm going to welcome you to my presentation today at ASBX. Before I get into the proper intro of myself and what this presentation is about, I thought I would give you a little treat and magic myself away so that you can see a live video that I captured from the International Space Station as it was passing over Sydney. And this was on October the 28th at 4 p.m. in the afternoon. So any of you here who are watching this, who live in this area, you are represented in this live capture from the International Space Station. And if you happen to have been watching 7 News Sydney that afternoon, you may even have seen this very clip because they asked if they could use my clip on their show. Anyhow, with that going on, let me start sharing my screen so that I can get on with the presentation and really share what it is I'm here to share with you. So yes, my name is Liam Kennedy, and I am the founder and inventor of a little gadget called the ISS Above. I'll give more information about that in a little while. The title of my topic is Exploring Our World Using Earth Observation Resources from the International Space Station. And let me just quickly flip through to this, which is a reminder of what I'm talking about here. I'm sure many of you are aware of this amazing object that is in our skies many times every day. It's the International Space Station, the size of a football field. And this animation, which is a little bit out of date, is highlighting some of the major habitation modules of the International Space Station. Already highlighted was the ISS National Lab. Now we're on to the Japanese experiment module. So really, I just wanted to give you that little reminder of what my talk is really going to be referencing. And it's really dealing with everything to do with STEM education on the International Space Station. Now, I come to this presentation with a particular connection with the International Space Station, and that is through the US National Lab. You will see the URL there that you can check later on. And the ISS National Lab is the organization that is funded by US taxpayers to support science education on the International Space Station and research. And that organization, although being funded by the US taxpayer, it means that they generally only work with US organizations. They actually have 40 education partners, of which I am one. And many of the education partners actually do work all around the world. And that's what I'm going to share a little bit about in this presentation. So on the STEM education side, one of the major pieces of work that was funded by the ISS National Lab was that they supported the development of this whole education program for, this is for middle schools in the USA. However, all of this information is available to anyone. There's a link that will be clickable in the real presentation that you can get access to. But it has lots of lessons that really do engage students in many different ways with the International Space Station and all of those topic areas, which cross many different areas of science, technology, engineering, and math. Obviously, a lot of those are really related to biology, astrobiology, astrobotany as well. And let's move on. So yes, I mentioned, obviously, I'm an education partner with the ISS National Lab, and it's through this little gadget that I've got here. And in fact, I'm going to stop my sharing just for a second. to really highlight what it is going on here. So this is the ISS Above. It's a little Raspberry Pi gadget that is plugged through into an HDMI output, displaying on a TV, monitor, or smart board. And it's got this very bright LED on it. Now, why is that flashing? It's flashing because right as I'm recording this presentation, randomly, or maybe not somewhat randomly, the space station is passing across the skies over Australia. It's actually going from Adelaide up to the Gold Coast, I think. And whenever the space station is passing above your horizon, this little box lights up like that. Let me go back and start sharing the screen again. And pardon my fumbling here. Let me just get back. There we go. So yeah, so it displays live information, and it's installed in over 3,800 locations worldwide, over 480 schools, and there are those free lesson plans and activities. I mentioned it has multiple different information screens. This is what it displays. It shows you where the space station is in your sky as it's passing by. It lets you know how long it will be before it passes you by. It shows the crew, who's up there, and also when you can go outside and see it, when visible passes happen. And very importantly, it shows obviously the crew. This is the crew who will be on the space station during the conference. The 4 astronauts on the right there, they are actually on their way to the space station as I'm recording this presentation right now. But they will all be up there when this presentation is available to you in the conference. And this is a very important slide. You know, I mentioned the space station obviously passes by Australia many times during the day. This calendar really gives you that concrete evidence that the International Space Station is passing you by so frequently. And you'll look on Tuesday, just after 8 a.m., there is a really great pass directly over the top of Sydney in this case. And that means the live video feed from the International Space Station at that time will have a really great view of Sydney as long as there are no clouds. So, you know, obviously I presented a little bit of information there about the ISS Above, but I'm also presenting here many resources that you can get access to without having one of those devices. And what I'm showing you here are the 2 live video feeds that are available 24 hours a day. There are links shown there on the slide that give you direct links to the actual source video feeds. The one on the left there is actually showing a recording that I did when the space station was passing over the Bay Area in Northern California. By the way, I happen to live in Southern California, just in case you were wondering. The video stream on the right is actually a time lapse I created of the other live video feed. That's a lower quality stream, but it often features views from many different cameras and can give some very interesting insights into the kind of external operations that are done. This example there is showing the Canada arm being worked out there. That was actually astronauts actually practicing doing a capture of one of the resupply vehicles that was going to be arriving the next day. Anyhow, this is another way that you can actually view the live video feed. I have this tracker. You can just click on the link, and it actually features both live video streams along with a tracker. So let me show you what that actually looks like. So here we go. I'm going over to, so this is live right now as I'm recording this. As you'll see, the space station has just passed over Queensland. And so the video stream on the left, that is a camera view that's pointed directly down. And you'll also notice that the space station is about to go into darkness. So the sun is going to be setting up there on the space station, which is why the view below here looks very dark. And there's not a lot to see over in this view over here. But nevertheless, you get the idea of what it is that's possible over there. So let me switch back to the presentation and carry on. So I wanted to give you some further examples of what the live video feed has to offer when it's passing over Australia. And I've captured a few views here. The one on the top left, the space station is passing over Darwin. And if you look very carefully, you'll see that what we can see there are a bunch of fires on the, I think it's the Tiwi Islands. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. But you can also see that there are multiple bushfires across the area around Darwin over there too, as is the case actually in the video in the top right. That was actually a capture maybe last week or the week before as it was going over Queensland, and that's the coast leading over to Cairns. And again, you can see evidence of bushfires over there. Just to give you that kind of insight into the kinds of things that are visible live from the International Space Station. The view on the lower left, it was passing over Adelaide, I think at the beginning, so Southern Australia. And then the view on the lower right, that was again over New South Wales in this case, maybe even started in Victoria over Melbourne. So, and by the way, it only takes a minute for the space station to go from Melbourne across to Sydney and Canberra and all of those places. So now I wanted to get into a little student activity that I wanted to share with you that really represents one aspect of the kinds of STEM activity you can conduct just with nothing other than a browser. So through this activity, it's called ISS skydiving, and hopefully it'll become evident why I've called it that. So this is where we're going to be using the live video from the ISS along with other NASA and NOAA resources, also a few others, as you'll see in a second, to follow the ISS as it orbits over the Earth. And while you're doing that, I'm going to show you how to check the orbital path of the ISS over an area that you may be interested in, using all of those resources, NASA, NOAA, and other satellite imagery to check for cloud cover. You know, however clever we've got with live video from the space station, we still can't see through clouds, at least not through the visible light camera systems that I'm talking about here. And then we'll use Google Maps to actually dive down to the ground and follow the track. And students then will be able to identify places, features, weather. I've already shown you some examples of bushfires, icebergs. Yes, there are times you can actually see icebergs in the live video feed. Finally, there's a little bit of an extra piece I've got here to show you how you can capture the live video feed yourself, if that's something you're interested in doing. So let me switch on to this next part here, where I mentioned we're going to be using a satellite tracker, an online satellite tracker, to allow us to view future passes of the International Space Station. And it's actually using this thing here called SatFlare, which I already have queued up over here. Now, this is live right now. You can see it's currently over the South Pacific Ocean, heading over to British Columbia, and then across, obviously, a lot of Canada there. And now I'm going to show you how you can use this tool to actually select any particular time in the future. The way I do it is there's a little control piece over here that you may see, which has H plus, H minus, M plus, M minus, S plus, S minus. Those actually are buttons you can press to move forward and back an hour, or a minute, or a second. You can also use the keyboard presses as well. So if I press M, you can see that the space station here is moving forward by a minute. And if I just put it into full screen mode, it might be easier for you to see that too. So just minute by minute. So you can see here, you can easily move the space station forward any particular time. If you press D, it will actually move it forward a whole day. And you can see there, it's now Friday, November the 12th. And the timing up here will be based on your local time. So don't worry about that. So here you can see that at this point, the space station is going to be going right over southern tip of Western Australia over here. So that really allows you to plan for when the International Space Station is going to be passing by, and see the track it's going to take. And then what you can next do, if I switch back to my PowerPoint slide, you know, an important aspect of planning out this activity for students is knowing what the weather's going to be like. So thankfully, there are a bunch of resources out there that make that really, really easy and quite engaging for students to get into. So what I tend to rely upon for US-based resources are some of the NASA-based satellites that cover much of North and South America. You can see the links here. And then also this other resource here called Worldview, which also provides that neat capability. Yeah, I just jumped over this one. It's really cool to be able to create these kinds of animations. So this a GIF animation showing the movement of the air masses across the USA was a really very clever capability that this system has. But I'm going to jump to another resource that I think is most appropriate for anyone who is non-US based. This particular resource is called zoom.earth, and it has near real-time weather and clouds that show you exactly what's going on. So, and I'm going to bring up that particular screen. If I can just click between, here we go. So this is the live view of that particular tool. And you can see I can scroll all around the world. Here I can concentrate on Australia. And if you click play, you'll see that it's possible for you to really get a sense of what is happening with the major cloud masses and the weather that's going on around any location that you're interested in. And up here, you can select particular different overlays to go on. So it looks like right now there's a bit of rain going on across Victoria, New South Wales, and various places up there. You'll also see that I have on here enabled are hotspots. So that those could be areas that would be useful to look at on the live video feed from the space station to see if your students can view the signs of bushfires that are happening in those areas. So that's, as I say, a really fabulous, fabulous tool. And to take it one step further, I wanted to give you an example where I've done this particular deep dive into a live pass from the space station. You'll see on the left is the track of the International Space Station mapped across the USA. And on the right is a capture of the live video feed at this time. I will say the space station's camera was zoomed a little bit higher than it is right now, but nevertheless, you really get a sense that you can see things that are very clearly recognizable in the feed below there. And when you get access to the actual presentation file, you can go through all of this yourself. By the way, what's showing up in that video feed right now is just the southern portion of Houston, where mission control for the International Space Station is. So let me just click through to the next slide. And this is what I really meant about being able to have students use Google Maps to set their view of Google Maps so it matches the live video feed, the track of the International Space Station. And you can see in the top, this is a frame grab from that live video feed, and below is the actual Google Maps view. And one of the things that becomes available when you do this kind of work is that students may actually recognize that there are visible changes between what they see in the live video feed, which happens, it was visible right then and there, versus the actual Google Maps view, which is based around satellite imagery and other resources that may be somewhat out of date. So just to give you an example of what that's like, I'm going back over here and let me here we go. Yeah, so this is that particular Google Map view of that pass. And, students then can really use this as a tool to examine where the space station has just been, and particularly if it's an area of the world that they're maybe not familiar with, they can use this as a way to actually investigate what is actually happening down on the Earth at that time. In fact, this particular view, if I just play the video that was there, that there were several things that were evident. I'm just scrolling along here. Firstly, you'll notice that you can see contrails from, that's some of the clouds, the wispy lines of clouds there. They're actually contrails from aircraft, which are very clearly visible. And I'll just pause it here, and you'll see right here, that's evidence of some kind of fire on the ground there. And when I looked into this at the time, it turned out that was an actual prescribed burn that was done by a wildlife sanctuary where they needed to manage some of the forestry, and they deliberately burned the part a number of acres. So those are the kinds of things that you can really get engaged in, have students really investigate when you're looking at these kinds of resources. Nearing the end of the presentation now, I did mention that I wanted to share with you how it's possible, if you're interested, to actually capture the live video feed. And I won't go into the detail here. It'll all be on the presentation file that you'll be able to get into. But there's a little program you can install on Windows, Mac, or Linux. And you can capture these live video feeds yourself whenever you want to. With that, just I want to give a couple of acknowledgements. You may have heard me mention this. What I shared with you is ISS skydiving, and that was a term created by a customer of ISS Above called Kevin McLeod. Thank you very much, Kevin. And then some acknowledgements for the worldview as well. And with that, I will complete the presentation, and thank you all for listening to what I had to share there. I hope you found it of of interest. And if you've got any further questions, please do feel free to drop me a line, liam@issabove.com. Thank you so much. And with that, I'll do my magic trick to disappear from this video. Bye-bye for now.